Hello, so this is just going to be a Corona sort of update video and a prediction. So for those of you that don't know, in the UK, we're going into another national lockdown, and I believe it's about the 2nd of November it's meant to start, or the 2nd of November was when they announced it. It's already gone the 2nd of November. But the idea was basically that it would last until I think the 2nd of December. So not quite a full month, probably like 28 days or something. But the problem is that we're now in a situation of going into a lockdown or having tightened restrictions, easing them, then having to do it again because the coronavirus R rate is going up. So there's not much really they can do in that thing. I think a lot of the problems are that the government spends too long trying to think about what they want to do before they actually commit to do something, so then they have to do it for longer because obviously the virus spreads far faster than it lowers, in the sense that you would have to have several weeks of lockdown to basically cancel off a week's worth of like rising cases. So they were advised by their scientific advisors a few weeks ago to do a 2 week lockdown. They refused to do that, and now they're being forced to do a month-long lockdown. Now, they've said it might even go on longer than the 2nd of December, but again, there's like conflicting stuff within Parliament about that. What I imagine they're going to try and do to save face is they're going to ease the lockdown before Christmas, and then probably in January start the lockdown again. That would be my guess. Again, that's just a guess. It's just going off of sort of their attitudes of how they've been behaving recently. But there's no real answer to this because obviously until there's a vaccine, I don't see any way we're getting out of this. All options are bad, basically, as we've said before. Locking down hurts the economy, it hurts people's mental health, things like that. But if you don't lock down, more people spread the virus. Going into a cold and flu season, coronavirus mixing with those is probably going to make it far more deadly and, overload hospital capacity when it's bad in the winter anyway. So, as I said, there's no easy way out of this. So, as a result, it means basically for the current month, we're going to have some sort of restrictions. I believe what the restrictions are, again, it's a bit muddled, is that all non-essential shops have to close. So basically, everything other than the supermarkets pretty much have to close. There'll obviously be some other examples, but mostly it seems stuff selling home goods can stay open. Everywhere else has to close. So restaurants have to close, pubs have to close, gyms have to close, all that sort of thing. Restaurants can do takeaway only now. And there's all the sort of different rules about you can meet with people in a public place, but not in their garden, which is always a very strange one, and not in their house. And then there's bits of you can meet somebody if you're caring for them, or in a support bubble or something. Again, that's where it gets confusing because there's so many like little bits that apply to that and don't apply to that. So anyway, my guess is that this lockdown, although it's meant to end on the 2nd of December, won't necessarily end on the 2nd of December. Or if it does, it will be briefly, and then there'll be restrictions coming back in straight after Christmas. So they could say, look, we got Christmas back to normal, but now you're going into restrictions. So let's hope there's a working, safe vaccine soon, because I think we all want to get out of this COVID nightmare. As I said before, I think the most efficient way governments could spend the least amount of money and have some degree of cutting down the R rate would be to provide everybody with a mask that has an intake outtake P3, P100 filter, and that way every single person, if they were being forced to wear their mask, is basically stopping viral transmission. But of course they're not going to do that because that would cost money and would require some sort of sense. So instead it's very muddled guidance as always, and no harsh penalties for people breaking the rules and spreading the virus. It's a kind of a perfect storm of people at the top breaking the rules, not getting punished for it. Regular people then say, well, if they're not getting punished for it and they can get away with it, let's do it, and it just becomes a complete mess. So there you go, about a month worth of lockdown if it doesn't drag on for longer. I know quite a few other European countries are doing a similar thing now because it looks like we're going to have a winter of discontent, unfortunately.